I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show!
Oh, my God. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Oh, my God. Happy. And it is a happy day. Wow. I'm still coming down from last night. This is the Anthony Gargano Show, and we're presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out TrueMark.com/PHLY or stop at your local branch to learn more about the credit union difference at TrueMark Financial today. Well, let's get into it. Oh, my. Which started as a night of great angst. I have to tell you, it was one of those moments where I feel great today, and I can't wait for Saturday and Sixers, Knicks, the whole thing. But I almost feel like a survivor. All right? I almost felt like it was... You ever have be on a flight and it's like a turbulence and you know it's one of those things where you start to get a little nervous, right? Thoughts start to go by, so your life starts to flash before your eyes. That's what it was like watching them last night. Sixers Heat, the Heat we know will make it ugly. They'll make it muddy. That's what they do. They muck it up. They acted like, the Sixers, they had never seen a zone before. And so we'll get to the end and the elation, and really, I give them tons of credit for winning that game. All right. And I want to laud, a lot of people, obviously, starting with Nico, starting with Batum, who saved the whole thing. Between Chick-fil-A and Batum, the night was saved, and it was a big deal. But the wave of emotion that we dealt with last night was unlike anything. Embiid talked about after the game, it had a Game 7 feel to it. And boy, did it ever have a Game 7 feel. It was white knuckle. And here's the deal. The first half, I'm going, they're going to lose this game? Like, are you kidding? I was like out of my mind, because it wasn't that they were down or losing, and I didn't expect it, right? Because I thought it would be a lot easier of a game. Now, you knew it would get ugly and it would be close, but I didn't think that you needed Nico Batum to go out of his mind to save your bacon, right? Like, I didn't believe that they would need that. But they acted like they never saw a zone before. I mean, it was one of the most frustrating first halves, followed by one of the greatest finishes. I mean, in that first half, I adore Tyrese Maxey. I love Tyrese Maxey. However, last night, he was horrendous. He was horrendous last night against the zone. He's got to do better in protecting the basketball and getting into entry spots. Now, I know, and Embiid said it after the game, that he was struggling to get to his spots. Now, look, between Joe pulling at his shorts, stretching them out, right? Like, I mean, you got to pull them shorts. Being gassed and the kind of the body language early was not good. And then you had 11 turnovers. So they had no rhythm offensively. But some of the entry passes were horrible, right? I'm going, what am I watching? And all this stuff. And I'm watching it with my cousin and my niece Domenica and Karen, my cousin's wife, and my friend Andy, who we all grew up together. And we're watching this game. And we're Sixer people to the hilt, right? Like, core Sixer people. We've been watching games together since, we were little boys. And so we're just perplexed. Like, why do we do this? We had this conversation before the game, and my cousin and I are kind of separated. We kind of share a brain, And I said to Joey, I go, I believe in them. I think they're going to make a run. I believe that this is different, right? That it doesn't matter playoffs, like it's different. There's no Simmons, there's no Harden, and all the stuff that we discussed leading up to last night's game right here. And then the first half happened. And I don't know about you guys, but all I keep thinking is, I'm an idiot. Oh my God, I fell for it again. I'm a sucker. Like, I fell for it again. Oh, thank you. So I tell the story of the first half because it makes the second half so much sweeter. And it all started with the chicken. Yes, this is the chicken game. Thank you, Chick-fil-A. Thank you, Nuggies. It was the chicken. This forever will go down as the chicken game. Bricking for chicken. It happened. Caleb Martin, right? The 7-minute mark of the third quarter. Sixers down 11. Caleb Martin misses the first. And then as we do, because, it becomes a thing, right? So brick for chicken becomes a thing. And the crowd starts to get into it. And then he misses the second. And then all of a sudden, the energy in the building skyrockets, right? All of a sudden, there's energy. And the Sixers go on that mini run. And that was the run that saved the game. Now, obviously, Batum was incredible, absolutely incredible last night. Not only the 6 threes were unbelievable, but the defense that he played, because he shuts down Jimmy, right? Like when he was guarding Jimmy, he really shut him down. Jimmy had a couple. He had that 1-3. It's a big 3. But Batum shuts him down. And then when Hero starts to cook, Batum in the waning moments shuts him down. The big block off the tie, swat. Batum! He was unbelievable last night. And you know what? I got to tell you the two things. One, as frustrating as Joel was in the first half, he closed last night. Inside the last 4 minutes, he was the Embiid last night inside the 4 minutes. Like, here's where I feel so great about it, is that he didn't skulk away and he didn't mope away the game. They fought and they fought and he fought and he won. And he vanquished Jimmy and Miami and the Vampires. He vanquished them. 15 boards, right? He had that one huge offensive rebound. He had the 3. He had the and 1. He had that wonderful pass to Kelly Oubre for the and 1. He gets doubled and he fires that thing in. And that was a huge, what a pass that was. And that was the and 1 that kind of seals the game. That was monstrous. He had 5 dimes, right? So even though the energy wasn't there in the first half and he was very out of sorts, which it's so interesting. If you follow him be like we do, he gets out of sorts, right? Like when he doesn't play, and this is what excites me for the run, because now he's going to be playing. He'll be in a rhythm. Like the worst thing for him is always days off. Like he almost should have played Sunday just to keep his rhythm going. And I was all for sitting him, but just to keep his rhythm going, because he was completely out of sorts really in the first 2.5 quarters of that game last night. And the game became tenuous up until the chicken mode. It was incredible. Nick Nurse. You know what Nick Nurse did? He left Tobias on the bench. And that was a brilliant move, man. It was. He, again, was, the friendly ghost. I mean, just the bunnies. They miss bunnies. And, oh, my God. He gets second chances. He rode that lineup, and it was the smart thing to do. Finish the game with Oubre and Batum, right? Like that was the smart thing to do with Lowry and Tyrese and Joe. So like I thought Nick Nurse coached a terrific game down the stretch. And listen, like winning a game like that is the perfect propeller as you head into a Knicks series. And I don't know about you guys. And look, all I kept thinking about is if they lose this game, the spring's dead, right? Like, Phillies are good, right? And they survived yesterday, the Grand Slam. Phillies are going to be good, and it's going to be a fun summer in baseball. But come on, like we wanted this spring to be special to get a run. Like I love this stuff because I love the run of playoffs, right? Where you got a game every other night, and you have something to look forward to, and your adrenaline pumps, and you're excited. And that's what I love about these runs. And all I kept thinking about is, I can't believe they're going to lose this game, just like always in the playoffs, at home, and then you got the Hawks games in my head, and then the Celtics game 6 is in my head. I'm going, oh, these games right here on this home floor. And they won. And they avoided Boston. Because you can't, off a loss like that, you wouldn't have a chance against Boston. You need Embiid to get into a rhythm of playing against the Celtics. So it was a perfect, like winning that game. I think they will beat the Knicks. I do. I think they're going to beat the Knicks. I think they match up really well against them. They are a minus 120 favorite as the 7 seed against the 2 seed. I think that speaks volumes for it. We'll talk to the big brain a little bit later on about that stuff. But I love them. I love them against the Knicks. And then we'll see. Indiana, Milwaukee. We'll see what happens there. But, man, what a game last night. I was so overjoyed at the end of that thing. The way they closed it out, that was different. That was not the same. They closed the game out. JP,
Cause, let's go!
Sing the song, JP!
Let's go! Aplaudan las manos, todo el mundo, para Filadelfia. 76ers, pisar tus pies, todo el mundo, para Filadelfia. 76ers, let's go, cuz.
There you go,
what
buddy.
a performance, what a night,
Excellent.
what a team. Oh, jubilation last night, cuz. Oh.
That was popping off, by the way. Brought to you by Olipop. Find your favorite Olipop flavor at your nearest Wawa. Dude.
Oh, my God.
I mean, if I told you the angst, right? Only that give away the jubilation. For once, all right? With this squad, it ended well. It ended well. It began poorly. Usually it's the other way around, right? Usually, hey, they got the lead, the whole thing. They blow the lead, they lose the game. This was different. It ended well. They closed it out, JP. They closed it out.
Cuz I go back to what you said, like the Sixers and this team, it's like theater. And like you watched last night, like that was an actual movie, the drama that you felt in that first half, and then them fighting back to get back in the lead, and it took all the way down to the wire. That right there, it was theater essentially. But I mean, too many things you take away. But one thing I always told you, like if you want to win a championship, it just can't be your 1 or 2 guys. Some other role players have to step up. And boom, boom, Batum, cuz stepping up in a huge way. Yeah. I'm going to have to learn French now, cuz, because of Nicolas Batum.
I want you to sing the song in French.
Oh, my God.
All right.
I'm take that challenge, and we're going to do it there. But also, Nick Nurse deserves a lot of roses, too, because the one thing, like, I listened to him after the game, you hear him talking about how the team was beating the Miami Heat zone defense because it was killing us in that first half, and hear him actually have a plan. Doc would have been like, yeah, we just got to shoot more.
Oh, my God.
And Nick's giving you
like,
an actual plan.
It would not have ended well, all right, if Doc was coaching.
Yeah, we would have absolutely lost that game. But just hearing, like, the differences between Nick and Doc coaching is night and day. But I feel really good, and I'm with you. Bring on the Knicks. I'm ready to go to Madison Square Garden. But, like, last night was just awesome. I went to bed like a baby, like a happy baby with a smile on my face.
It's funny you mentioned theater and like a story, a film, and it was, right? Like, so all stories are based off of 3 acts, right? So you have 3 acts. So at the end of the second act, like right toward the middle to end of the second act, is what happens is the story turns, right? There's a turning point. And last night, that turning point happened with the chicken.
Chicken nuggets.
All right?
The nugs, as Andrew would
Thank
say.
you, Chick-fil-A. Thank you. All right? You know what? My kid eats at a singular time, right? Anthony, 30 nuggets, 2 Chick-fil-A sandwiches, large fries, and a vanilla shake.
I'm jealous of that.
With no whipped cream, right? Right. And every time the total comes up, because that's just him. That doesn't count Massimo or my wife or me or anything. That's him. So I go, every time I see the total, I cringe, right? And I go, oh my God, oh man, kidding me? I feel blessed now because that changed the course of that play-in game. And it's amazing, right? It was a play-in game, and it felt like a Game 7.
And that's how you have to handle it. Caleb Martin, thank you so much for that. But that was the atmosphere, and that's what you want to see, how them step up in that type of big moment. The atmosphere was alive, too, with the Wells Fargo Center. But no, like, just that.
Well, listen, nobody does it like we do.
No.
Like this series with the Knicks is going to be fun.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be
wait.
fun, man.
And we're traveling up
Two
there, too.
old basketball towns, right? Broad Street v. Broadway, 30th Street v. Penn Station. Like, it's the Amtrak series.
I got the goosebumps hearing you say that.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. Like, it's going to be a lot of fun. But all because of last night. And I don't know, like when you're watching it, I mean, we were all like inconsolable.
Yeah. So just a quick context. Obviously, you were watching with your family. I was at a charity event for 302 Birds. So shouts to 302 Birds. But everyone was, just hanging out. And then once the Phillies turned into the Sixers game on the TV, everyone corralled around this corner watching the game. It was on this one screen, and we're all just corralled watching as the Sixers, and that first half, right, was on that run, and we're all just like,
yeah, but it was even beyond just a run, right? They were so disjointed.
Yeah,
they were so disjointed offensively. And think about it, like what Miami does. Miami plays that
we
zone.
Talked about that yesterday,
of course, because that's what they do.
That's all they do,
and you should be way more equipped to beat it. So the difference is they were blitzing Maxey, and what was driving me nuts was the lackadaisical passes.
Yeah.
Like those looping, just ducks. I mean, seriously, what are you doing? Right? And I know Joe is struggling to get to his spot, but he's lumbering, right? He's lethargic. And then you can't Miami pushed them out between the 3-point circle and half court. Look how far they were. They were 30 feet out starting their offense.
Yeah. No, I think really one big thing, too, Cuz, is the intensity. Because, like you saw, too, in that second half, a big turnaround, the beating that zone defense was just the off-ball movement. They were moving around the ball. They were getting into those crevices, too, that zone defense will leave there. So it was just good adjustments here, but especially it starts with Nick Nurse.
They started their lanes, right?
Yeah.
You started because when they're going at it with a 5 out, right? And you're trying to get those driving lanes and then drive and kick, right? That's the essence of basketball, especially when they're playing like that.
Yeah.
But they could never. They were starting her off. Embiid had his back to the basket, 30 feet out. Like he just get pushed out, and then it was one bad shot after another.
Yeah.
And that's where, look, Batum, man.
Everyone just fed off of Batum. Even like Campaign was making big shots. Paul Reed's trying to get some big rebounds in there. So that energy just kind of radiates with everybody else. And listen, if you're going to go on a run, it's going to take a team effort.
Yeah.
And you got to feel good after last night.
Oubre, like,
yeah,
he played well.
I
love the fact that, like, he's the anti-Tobias, right? He's fearless.
Exactly.
He's fearless.
Exactly. And so now that we move into this next series, like game 1, it might be the Joel game, might be the Tyrese game, but has to be the trend. Someone else
Tyrese, I think
up.
He'll go off. He'll have one of those.
I thought it was going to be last
night,
but that's
fine. He'll have a 35-point. Listen, he just got to realize about running the offense too. Like, when you got the ball in your hands, you're going to make sure that offense flows. All right, we got lots to do. My God, JP.
I'm excited, man.
Chris, listen, I couldn't deal with another. Like, this is the 7th run post-process. The 7th playoff run.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be staring at Boston first round. Like, at some point, we have to slay that sea monster, right? They're a sea monster. And we're going to have to slay them at some point.
Yeah.
But it's not happening in the first round.
That's so huge. Avoiding Boston in round one is so huge. So would rather face the New York
Knicks. And by the way,
Knicks,
like, Miami will test them.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a fun series.
Miami will test them.
Yeah.
Miami will muck it up for them.
Yeah. You shocked Chicago beat Atlanta at all?
No.
That Atlanta team, what happened?
That dude, hot garbage.
That was a.
But listen, you
decline.
have nothing down low.
Yeah. Look at point.
You got Capella. That's it. But I got to tell you, it's going to come down to it. I'm not looking past the Knicks. I do think the Sixers will beat New York. So I feel good about the matchups there. Wow. I'll tell you, what a night last night. And like, that building is awesome.
Yeah. No.
Like, nobody's celebrating. The crowd goes wild. Like, it's fabulous.
Yeah.
It's why we love sports, man.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see what Ben Stucker would think about this, the CEO of Mortgage CS. And we are proud to welcome back Mortgage CS to the PHLY family. Thank you for sponsoring here today. Guys, listen, buying a house is not easy. And as we all know, prices are rising. And I would have loved a year and a half ago to have a service like Mortgage CS to buy my first house here with my lovely fiance. So that's why we are proud to have Mortgage CS back. And of course, right now they are offering refinancing options, including rate and term refinances for rate and payment reduction, or cash out refinances to tap into home equity, making it a smart choice for those with high interest debt or funding home project and education. Spring purchase market is almost here. Well, it's actually here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's heating up quickly. Obviously, listen, we all know prices are rising, interest rates are rising as well, and Mortgage CS is going to try to help you out with that exact issue right there. And Mortgage CS, what does CS stand for? Mortgage CS stands for Mortgage Concierge Service. It's a white glove service, and it's an independent mortgage broker based right here in Philadelphia, ladies and gentlemen. But they're also licensed coast to coast from California, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Delaware, Florida, Maryland, and New Jersey, of course. And they are here to educate and empower their clients. They help clients obtain ultra-competitive rates, and they are here to provide exceptional customer service 24/7. Like I mentioned, Ben Stucker is the man. He's a big Philly sports fan. So whether it is mortgage questions or questions about what did he think about the Sixers game last night, you could text him right now. If you're watching live on YouTube, that number is on the bottom of the screen, 267-391-7425. You could text him about anything you would like as far as mortgaging or Philly sports, or you can email Ben at mortgagecs.com. And again, that's Ben at mortgagecs.com. This advertisement is not committed to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID 146766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information. Thank you, Mortgage CS.
All right, so coming up, Keith Pompey. I love talking to Keith Pompey, who covers the Sixers, does a great job for the Inquirer. So Keith and I will chop it up, get all his thoughts from being right there inside courtside right there last night. And then at 10 o'clock, Kevin Negandhi, my dear friend, ESPN hometown hero, Kevin, will join us coming up at 10. Looking forward to that. Let me tell you about the BetParks Sportsbook app. Man, Sixers minus 120 for the series on the BetParks Sportsbook app. I think you got to do it. I think you got to check it out. Look, I'm sure Big Brain's got some fun stuff for you. All his props, he's been killing it on all the props. So my suggestion to you is download the BetParks Sportsbook app. In fact, if you win your first $10, your $10 bet, you get $125 in Sportsbook bonus bets. They have it all. So you can bet on the series. You can bet on the game, in-game, while the game's happening, same game parlays, all the props. They have all that stuff, right? You could parlay everything, and it's just a lot of fun. They always have odds boosts and all kinds of fun things. So check out the BetParks Sportsbook app. And listen, while you're watching the game, also they have the casino app right there. Live dealers, so you can have the action going all night long on the BetParks Sportsbook app and casino, which is terrific. So check it out. Again, win your first $10 bet. You can earn $125 in Sportsbook bonus bets. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. BetParks. Download the app, play along with us. Got to be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. You or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, joining us from the Inquirer. I can't wait to talk some ball with this man. He does such a great job. Make sure you read him. Make sure you follow him on all social media. Keith Pompey joins the program. Keith!
What's good, man? How you doing?
Man, that game, I can't, I'm like half speechless about it because the way it began, right? The way the zone just messed with them and then how they closed it. I thought it would be different this playoff series, this season. And Keith, let's look at it from the big picture first. Like, they closed it. Like, that was different. The way they closed the game last night was completely different, especially how it started.
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy because that was the first time that they came back from a huge deficit like that at the half. You know what I mean? So that was crazy. Initially, I was looking at it, man. I'm saying to myself, I thought this team was tougher. Like I thought, like they got guys who could play in the moment, and they looked a little soft in the first half, and the moment looked too big for some of the new guys, right? And then you look at Nico Batum, and he had that look, and it's like, okay, I thought he was a role player. You know what I mean? He was draining threes. So, to me, it was a tough victory, but it was a great victory for them to be able to overcome that and play the way they did. Because the bench campaign, he only played like 3 minutes, but he came in and hit a huge three. I mean, Buddy Hield shot 1 for 5 for 3, but he had 6 assists.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So,
yes.
Paul, drove the lane. He did what he had to do. So, to me, it was a tough to watch in the first half, but in the second half, I kind of like said, okay, guys are stepping up. Not all of them, but some of the new
dudes. We'll talk about it. But you know what? I had the same exact take on this thing, which is they stepped up because I thought the same thing. Like they look scared, right? And all of a sudden there's Jimmy, right? Jimmy playing gangster, and they're gonna wilt like to Jimmy. Jimmy's dictating. And I'm going, oh, my God, not again. Again with this? You knew that they were going to play this way, right? And all I kept thinking about it. But this is where I got to give the big fella a ton of credit, right? Because he was grabbing his shorts. You can see he was out of rhythm, out of sorts. He couldn't get to his spots, right, early. But he didn't quit. He didn't McMope it, right? The whole game. He came out in the last 4 minutes. He was the beast, man. He closed.
Yeah, I mean, those threes that he hit were huge. Those shots, it was aggressiveness. It got to a point where, sometimes you say you gotta, a person's character is shown and their heart is shown like in the biggest moments. And that was one of those moments. Now I get it. You can score 70 points against the second worst team in the league. I mean, you can get, you can beat up on the Charlotte Hornets. But for when you have a messed up knee and we all see it, you can't move. And when your team needed you down the stretch and you come through the way he did, that was big of Joel. I mean, think about it. He shot 3 for 12 through the first 3 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, he stepped up and drained those shots and shot, I think he shot 4 for 5, I believe. But he played well down in the stretch. He played extremely well.
By the way, Shams just reported Jimmy has an MCL injury and it's going to be out several weeks. So that'll cook him for Boston. But you saw him limping. You saw him when he hurt his knee. I didn't realize it would be that serious.
You know what? I was actually shocked that he continued because when you saw him on the ground grimacing in pain, and then you looked at some of the coaches, the way they were looking at Kelly, like, how dare you? How dare you? I'm like, okay, I don't think he's coming back. And then all of a sudden, Jimmy gets up, like you said, and he limps and he sits down and you're looking at his mobility. Now he was saying that he felt like he hurt his team by coming back. But to me, he still looked good. You know what I mean? And then after the game, they felt like it was a MCL and that's what it was. But, it's crazy, man. Sometimes I love his heart, but you wonder if he would have just sat out the game, I mean the rest of it, and got it checked out, would have been able to play on Friday? Because I don't know if he injured it further by continue to playing. You know what I mean? It's just a
Yeah.
lot of questions you have. But I tell you what, that's the type of dude. He's like a hockey player, a football player, a guy who can play through the pain and do whatever.
Yeah, and he's tough as all get out, man. He could be menacing, but that's where again I go to and Beast. How about the pass that he makes to Oubre, right? Like the 5 times, all of a sudden he started to get to a spot, and then that was a great feed for the and one. I mean, I can't. I was so impressed by the closing piece of it, because early on, I don't know, like you're covering the game, you see him. Were you concerned by his body language because he kept pulling at his shorts? He was huffing. He looked pretty lethargic early.
Yeah, he was lackluster like a mug. Now, here's the thing about Embiid, and basically that performance. Now, he did have a great fourth quarter, right? But going up against the Knicks, he's going to have to bring it, right? The whole thing, he's going to have to bring it. But you are right. Like when I was watching it early on, I'm saying to myself, "Come on, Joel, you got to snap out of this," because the nation is watching. Everybody's looking at this game, and when next you don't want to have that label as a great regular season player who's just a guy in the playoffs, right? And
Yeah.
and he looked like he was out of it. Now again, I get it. His knee is messed up. He's in a lot of pain. He couldn't get to the spots like you alluded to before I got there, but it just was a bad look for someone who's as dominant as he is. And, I don't have a dog in the race or anything like that.
Right.
But at the same time, it's one of those things for a guy of his stature. You are happy for him to be able to put together the fourth quarter that he did so he can at least quiet his critics for at least another game, but I mean, I'm here to I think he stepped up. I don't know if old Joel would have done that. I think old Joel would have been like, I'm in a lot of pain. I couldn't do it. My teammates needed to step up. But no, he took it in his hands. And you saw when he hit, yes, he had that pass, but when he hit one of those threes, you saw how he accelerated. I mean, how he celebrated. That's something that you don't see from Joel a lot. And it meant a lot to him. And it meant a lot that, he could win this game and get out and get some rest. So yeah, if he plays that way throughout, I think that they're going to be so far down on the Knicks that they're not going to be able to come back. But you got to give it to him, man. Like, hey, you have to give it to him for the ability to come back the way that he did.
Great Keith Pompey with us, covers the Sixers for the Inquirer. Great basketball guy. Big story of the day is the Sixers, presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. See the credit union difference at TrueMark Financial today. Early, Maxey. I got to tell you, I was disappointed. Bad entry passes, soft entry passes. He really struggled to kind of find his way against the zone. And I'm thinking, what Miami does. You knew that this was going to be. When they blitzed him, they pushed their offense way back. Like they were getting started 30 feet from the basket. And he 11 turnovers, and he had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because after the game, not funny, but after the game, Maxey was like, we kind of knew that they were going to do that, but we were surprised that they did it from the start, like early on. Typically, they do the man-to-man and they come out and do it. And for Maxey, he's a great player, all-star. He may even make All-NBA, right? But the thing is, that's where you realize that, he's a young point guard. He's really like a two guard in that body. I mean, and in a point guard's body, because some of his decision making, like you said, wasn't there. Like you were expecting him to use his quickness to try to penetrate and then kick it out. But instead, he was just, like you said, lackluster, lazy passes that led to turnovers. And then some of the shots were like 4 shots that were errant. You know what I mean? It looked like for a minute the moment was too big. And the thing that got me is, when you look at the Sixers, the Miami Heat, as much as we talk about Jimmy Butler and we talk about Bam Adebayo, the one thing is we know and they know their kryptonite has always been the zone defense.
Yep.
Like, right? And so you figure that, you had a couple days off to whereas you can attack that, you can work on it and let Maxey know, like, hey, look, this is what they're going to try to do to you. And to me, it just seemed like, unfortunately, that they weren't working on it, but they were. It's just that I felt like it surprised him a little bit, and he made some mistakes early on.
Yeah. It'll be different against New York. It'll get more of a flow. The way they play, he should have more of a flow. So I don't worry about him, but I was surprised. Now, I did like what Nick Nurse did at the end, and he left Tobias on the bench because, once again, Tobias, man, didn't show up. Missed bunnies, rebounds.
Yeah.
Like, I got to tell you, we've seen that before time and time again in the playoffs, and I was glad that he went Oubre over Tobias.
Yeah, that was a tough one because, when you saw in the beginning of the game, I think Tobias hit a shot, an air ball, like his first shot of the game was an air ball 3, I believe it was, right? And then after that, he hit the next 2. So he was like 2 for 3 in the first quarter. And you're saying, okay, he's settling down a little bit. Now, that second quarter was hard to watch. I mean, he was 1 for 5. That's when he missed like 3 bunnies in a row, right? And then he only took 1 shot in the third quarter. He made that. And then in the fourth quarter is when he messed up and he missed that shot. And you're sitting there and you're like, okay, Tobias, right now we know what you can do. The moment is starting to look too big for you. Then you look around and Nico Batum is outplaying you. And, you say, well, maybe Nick, what is Nick going to do? Is Nick going to keep him in there to keep him confident and stuff like that, or don't upset him? Or is he going to pull the switch and say, we got to win? And that's what he did. As shortly after Tobias missed that shot, he was done, right? He was out of the game. Now, the thing is, Nick Nurse said all the right things. Like afterwards, he said, oh, Tobias played well. He was gassed. He was this and that. But, deep down inside, it was like he's not trying to lose his player, but Nick Nurse was trying to win the game. And I feel like that lineup that they closed out the game with was the best lineup because, Tobias only took 2 shots in the second half. And the one in a big moment in the game, he missed it badly. And he was making turnovers. So he had to go. Now, again, he did have 10 rebounds. He did have 4 assists. But, Tobias has to shoot better than 4 for 10.
Especially the looks. They had 3 straight possessions. They had really good looks. Buddy Hield missed the 3, but Tobias had the third look. And he didn't even hit the rim. It's like, dude. Come on, man. You can't have that. Like, listen, we all love. He's a nice guy and all. All right, I'm done. Like, please sit him down.
Really?
Like, and Nick has to say that, right? But he was smart. You have to close out. And by the way, with Batum's defense, right? He was on Jimmy, and then when Hero started to cook, he locked down Hero.
Oh, no doubt. And that's the thing. Like Nico, I'm gonna tell you this, so the game was on Wednesday. At practice on Tuesday, like Nico's a really nice guy. Like he's talking about friends, talking about his kids. He's always FaceTiming his kids. And when he comes over, he says, "What's up, Keith?" In his accent, right? Well, when he walked over on Tuesday, he just gave me a fist pump. But he had like a stoic look on his face. And I'm like, yo. So then afterwards, he gets done. And he's like, everybody else is saying this crazy stuff like, oh, it's just another game, this and that. And he's like, nah, we got to win. It's a must win. And then afterwards, I say to him, yo, man, like, what's up? Like, I know it's like a big game, but dude, you acting different. And he's like, Keith, it's the playoffs. It's the playoffs. And I'm like, wow. And then you looked at it and you saw how the moment was big for a lot of dudes in that first half. And you saw how he came out and was balling, right? And he with the grit, like you said, the defense. I mean, it was crazy. Not, I mean, we're talking about the threes that he hit, but probably the biggest play, one of the biggest plays, was two defensive plays he made when he blocked my man's shot, right? And then at the end of the game, he was smart enough to know that I'm gonna let this dude hit this three right before the buzzer and we win the game. I'm not even going to contest it so he can try to draw a foul and get to the
Yes.
line. You know what I mean? He was smart, but I'm
Yes.
telling you, like, we always talked about this thing that the Sixers were missing was toughness and grit and this and that. And you get this guy who basically people saying, well, he wasn't playing for the Clippers. He wasn't this, he wasn't that. And he brought it yesterday. I mean, he brought it yesterday. And now you know why Joel loves him, why
Yep.
everybody loves him. And he's the most selfless dude on the team. Because think about this, and I don't want to ear beat you, but think about this in today's era. You're not playing today, but if we need you to do an inbounds pass, you're going to suit up just for a second to do an inbounds pass. Guys are looking at their stats saying, what? I'm not doing that. Like, this is a contract year. Like, I'm not doing that. Nico does it. And the reason why he stepped up yesterday is because nobody else would at that time. And he helped his team out. I like the guy a lot, man. He's a great addition to the team, a great dude, and he's tougher than I ever imagined.
I love that story. That is a great story, Keith. Him when he did just a fist bump, man. You laid it out beautifully and about who he is.
Oh man, he's the real deal, dude. I mean, that's why Joel loves him. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
Now I know why. See, this is crazy. So he sits in the locker room. His locker is to the right of Joel's. And what they do is you go in there, you give them a good chime. They sitting there just yapping in French, just going to town. And when they go on the road, his locker is to the right of Joel's, right? So, it's like you get it, they're both, got these French, like, ties. They know this, like,
Yeah.
and his father's from the Cameroon, so they get that. But at the same time, dude, now I know why Joel holds him in high regard because of the stuff he did yesterday.
That's fantastic. This portion of the program brought to you by Rite Aid. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief, all kinds of stuff. You can schedule a vaccine appointment, riteaid.com. Keith, between Batum and the chicken, because you were there, the chicken, bricking for chicken, Chick-fil-A saved the game, man, because after Caleb Martin missed both, the energy, the building just rose, man. It was the chicken game.
Yeah, it was crazy. And look, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't have a dog, and suppose I have a dog in a race, but I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna go to a Chick-fil-A and get my food. I'm gonna do that. Yeah, the people. Yeah, but that was right. The crowd got into it because at first, think about it. The crowd went from booing to cheering because everybody got a free 5 chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A, right? But yeah, that was crazy, man. That was crazy. Yeah,
because then they go on a run. Because it was funny. The crowd in a second, right? Like they freak out, and then it helps start the run. They had somebody hit a 3, and then it was Batum hit the 3, and then they got a run out, and then all of a sudden, like once you turn an 11-point game to a 4 or 5-point game, it's a different vibe, and that's what happened during that moment.
Yep, and look, just so I can prove to you, that's my bricking for chicken right here. I'm gonna go get it.
Yes, I love it, man. Make sure you do it by 10 o'clock, all right?
Yeah. I'm gonna wait. Yeah, I don't want anything. But yeah, you're right. You're right. That's what it was. I mean, the crowd got into it. But yeah, you're right. They did go on a run, and it was like, whoa. And it was funny because you could look at the bench, the other bench, and you saw, like, you could see people on their bench, and a couple guys were like, because they could. The thing about the Philly crowd is what people tell me on opposing teams is like, you want to get on the Sixers early, because when you get on the Sixers early, the crowd is so knowledgeable and they expect so much that they will come down hard on the team. But if something happens that gives the crowd, excites them a little bit, then you got to get that fire out right quick, because then it's going to run. And that's what happened. He missed them. And then all of a sudden things start coming a little bit together for the Sixers, and they went on a major run, and that helped them. But yeah, you're right. I mean, and teams say that all the time, dude. They like, when you come to Philly, more so than anywhere else, you got to get on the team early, because the crowd will turn on them. But you got to keep them. You got to keep them down.
That's great stuff, dude. Great. I mean, tremendous insights from Batum to the game itself to that piece of it with the crowd. Keith, man, you are a must read, a must follow. You just kill it, man. Thanks for always being there, man. We love you, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me on, my man.
Thank you, my brother. We'll talk soon. Sixers Knicks series. That is the great Keith Pompey joining us. Great insights with Batum stuff and then the crowd stuff, which is awesome. All right, we reached that point of the daily grind presented by the BetParks Sportsbook app, and that means, and he's a hoop head himself. He is the one, the only, the big brain.
Brain. Brad, the Brain Feinberg.
There he is. What do you say, Brain? How about that game last night?
Anthony, 8-2 last night for me on my site. Another great winning night. Sixers game, though, I got to tell you, Anthony, I was not as, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't feel as good as I wanted to feel after a win.
Really?
For me, and I know, I'll tell you, listen, I know we texted a little bit, after the game. For me, and again, I'm just talking only for me, from my point of view, I know what this team is, but to me, the key on everything is Embiid going to be the Embiid we saw in the first 35 games? Or is he going to be the injured Embiid we saw the last 4 playoff series, where his production, and let's be fair about it, Anthony, go bring this up on your computer if you want. Look at Joel Embiid's stats in the regular season versus the postseason.
Yes.
It's probably the biggest. Peyton Manning had a big downgrade. Barry Bonds had a big downgrade. There were some guys, Alex Rodriguez, that really were Hall of Fame players that struggled for whatever, Clayton Kershaw, for whatever reason in the playoffs. Usually never happens in basketball, by the way. In basketball, I've only never seen it, usually more so in the other sports. But Embiid's stats, I like to think it's because of injuries, but they have been drastically, Anthony, worse. And I mean drastically worse in the postseason. And again, yesterday's game, now I know they struggled with the zone defense and whatnot, and he didn't look right to me. I know maybe I'm just overthinking it. I know you thought a lot of it was.
Listen,
yeah.
I want to throw this in because it's a great conversation. It really is. It's a great conversation. And I'm not going to go give you a full alibi.
Right.
And certainly, he has had moments that were not pretty in the postseason. And the first half last night was the same thing. But there is a factor here that the numbers don't depict. It's why I'm not a pure numbers guy and I do a lot of eye stuff. And it's when you're a big and you're not a traditional face-to-basket player, you're beholden to your ball handlers. You're beholden to your point guards, right? And look at the point guards that he's had to deal with, right? Like, so Simmons obviously played a role in how they defended Embiid because they left him alone to shoot the basketball. And then you had Harden, who dominated the basketball, right? Who would sag, and if he couldn't beat his man. And so there were factors there. And last night in the first half, Maxey did not play well. He was awful in his entry passes and how you start. Now, again, he's got to grow. And we all saw Embiid optically grabbing at the shorts and the whole thing. Yeah. But again, when we talk about those numbers in the playoffs, you are, as a big and as the type of player, he's a unique player, are beholden to your guy who has the ball in his hands primarily.
Anthony, no question you're right on that. I'm just talking more, and look, and I would talk about it all the time, you trust your eyes, watch the games. Like I just feel like, and again, maybe again, I'm wrong. I mean, just add it to the list. I'm always going to be wrong. I'm always trying to learn and get better. But I just feel like he does not seem to me, like the best player in the world, which he clearly was. Clearly, like I don't even have a doubt in my mind. Those first 35 games, I was the best I've ever seen him play. You know, by a zillion, and whether it was Nick Nurse, whether it was him, whether it was whatever it was. And I just feel like he doesn't seem to have that same mobility, in my opinion, that he had the first. And again, it's small sample size, very small. It's just getting back. A lot of factors, Anthony, for sure. But to me, this team will only go as far at the end of the day. At the end of the day, Anthony, he needs to be the best player in the world. If this team, look, if they're just trying to win a series, win a playing game, they can maybe get a lucky win like they got last night and get away with it. Jimmy Butler getting hurt. But if they actually really want to beat Boston, if they want to go to the conference finals, win a championship, Joel Embiid, in my opinion, has to be the best player in the world. And I don't know if he has that in him because of injury right now.
Well, okay, so a couple things. What makes me feel much better about last night was he closed the game out. Like
he did.
As much as, Batum and the chicken saved the night, right? It's the truth, right? Like, Batum was the man and the chicken was the chicken, right? But
shouldn't be showing me that. I'm like hungry.
Embiid closed the game out, man.
He did.
He hit the big three. He had an and one. He had that nice, beautiful pass to Oubre. And he makes his free throws, like all that stuff. Like he closed the game out, which made me feel better. I think it was a couple factors. One, he gets out of sorts when he sits for a while. He hadn't played since Friday night. I think that, that was part of the issue. I think, he just didn't look himself. I think once the playoffs and he gets into a rhythm, he'll be playing to that level that we expect him to on a consistent basis. I don't, which is why I feel completely different today as to how he finished the game. If he shrank and did a Tobias at the end of the game, I would be crushed. I would have lost all faith in him. But he didn't. He didn't quit. He rose. And that to me is the difference.
Well, I'm glad, Anthony. It's funny. I'm glad you mentioned Tobias. I know we talked after the game, and again, I love that Nurse said, "Okay, I'm not worried about hurting your feelings, boy. This is the NBA playoffs, my friend. Like we can't worry about hurting your feelings, even though you've been a very good player for us to buy, a very productive player.
Yeah, you just can't
for years,
and he shrank again.
Yeah, and he just Tobias again. He's had a very solid NBA career, and I'm not knocking him at all. He's had a really productive NBA career, he just didn't yesterday. Just whatever, it wasn't his thing. And I give Nurse credit. Yeah, sometimes it's not easy to take out one of your core guys because you have to deal with the after effects and whether the guy sulks, whether it affects him going forward. So I give him credit in that he realized this isn't his night, and they just did that. Now, Anthony, I got to give you credit. Talking about giving credit. I asked you the other day. I go, what will the series price be? Now, hear me, the professional gambling expert, is saying $1.60. Mr. Gargano's like, no. That's too high. It's going to be a Knicks bias. It's going to be closer to a pick, maybe 120. Well, right now on the Park site, Anthony, you nailed it. It's minus 110 both ways, basically dealer's choice who you'd like to win. For everyone watching, I made a large wager on the Sixers. Couldn't help myself. For all the stuff I just said about Embiid, Anthony, I'll take the Sixers over the Knicks 8 out of 7 days in the week, okay? And I'm just going to take my chances, and I'll choke on it if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I see it the same way. I think the Sixers win the series. I think they match up, especially Julius Randle. I look at New York, and I think they're going to struggle to guard Embiid. I think Maxey will be able to get into a better rhythm. And I just, and look, I love Brunson, and he's a terrific player, great story. Josh Hart, like they're, and you got all the whole Villanova connection, right? But I'm with you. I love, I like the Sixers a lot in this matchup. Is there anything that you're looking at to pounce? So you pounce on the series price?
I bet the series price. I got to ask you a quick question, just from an NBA point of view, Anthony. Who do you think is the better player? Not that it's really relevant. I'm just curious. Between Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson.
Brunson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Brunson to me is. I don't think this is hyperbole. This could be like an assignment for us to like figure it out. Has there ever been an NBA player who's risen his level up from where he was when he started to now? I really don't know if I could think of any basketball player that started as like a first couple years averaging 5 points a game in a reserve role, now scoring 30 a night and being one of the most dominant players in the NBA.
Dude, it's and he even took his game from another level in Dallas,
right? Multiple times.
New York. Like,
yeah.
He became a star in Dallas, right? I remember thinking, wow, that's a good spot for him, Luka.
Yeah, right. Same thing. Yeah.
And then I thought the Knicks, I'm like, wow, you guys are crazy. And I love William Wesley, who's the local guy who runs the Knicks.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, Wes, he gave a lot of money. Like, really? Is that a smart move? And he has become a superstar in New York.
Well, it's interesting. And the guy I kind of, when Jalen Hurts went from what he did his first 2 years to what he did the Super Bowl year, I'm like, wow. I'm like, I don't think I've seen a guy raise his. And then he unfortunately regressed back last year. But it's not often you see a guy that really, and you're right, it was like a car going from different gears with Jalen Brunson. And that's, again, I'd love to, I don't remember an NBA player that I could think of. And also, I guess with this Knicks team, man, I guess one of the impressive things about the team is probably just the team chemistry, right? With Hart, Dante, and Brunson, you have right now probably 3 of their 4 best players, right? That they have a history together, that, like, quite frankly, that's very hard to beat, and that they've been together in college days and for not just the NBA days, and obviously won titles and had a lot of success at Villanova. So I do respect them, but we talk about gears, Anthony. This Knicks team under Tom Thibodeau, the Bulls under Tom Thibodeau, tell the listeners, what's the one thing this team's never been able to do under Tom Thibodeau?
Yep.
They have never been able to raise that level, which is why the Bulls and Knicks have never had a successful postseason. He coaches in the regular season and they win, and I give him credit. Great coach, because he doesn't take a day off. But you see in the postseason, it is a different game. Will the Knicks have that next gear to keep up? I'm going to say no. Yeah. Again, I made a large bet, even for me. I made a large bet on the Sixers at a pick. I'm going to take my chances. And again, I think this is a really good bet, everyone watching. And I'm not a homer, as you guys know.
Listen, you do it for a living, so that's what you do. Hey, real quick, Brad'sBestBets.com is how you reach Brad, at Brad's Best Bets on Twitter. Is there anything you have for us?
I got it, man. I got to fade. And one of my favorite guys to fade, Carlos Carrasco, 17-6 last 2 years, under 4.5 strikeouts. I think the guy is at this point in his career, just, batting practice kind of pitcher. Doesn't have much stuff. Swing and miss rate is extremely low. 4.5. He will get 5 strikeouts. Tough pitcher's park in Boston. I'm going to say no. I'm going to take Carlos Carrasco. The juice is high. I lay like $1. I think like $1.45. It's up to like $1.65. I still like it up to -200. I think this bet wins at least 2 out of 3 times.
Here you go. You got it. The
All
big
right,
brain. Great stuff, my brother.
I'll see you tomorrow, buddy.
Sixes, baby. See you tomorrow. There he is. The brain. Coming up, Kevin Negandhi will join us. So very excited to talk to Kevin, as we'll chop it up with him, hometown hero, ESPN. Let me tell you about Primo Hoagies. Like I said last night, when you have a game, big sports night, food is paramount. And what do you want? There's nothing better than the Primo. Because you're watching a game, everyone's around the TV, right? You got your sandwich. And those sandwiches are the best, right? The best Thuman meats and cheeses piled high on that fresh bread baked in store every day. Those seeded rolls, right? Like they're just the perfect crunch and taste with the meats, right? Or you got the meatball, you got the Nona if you want the veggie hoagie, or if you want the chicken or the chicken parm, which is tremendous. Chicken is a theme today on the show. Nobody does it like Primo Hoagies. Again, every sandwich is made with love and care, like the original that happened. It opened in 1992 right on Rittner Street in South Philadelphia. And now across the country, over 90 locations across our area. Go to primohoagies.com for the location nearest you. And then you'll remember what I always say. It's not just a hoagie. Nah, it's a Primo. Yeah, so get your Primo this weekend. And while we're at it, the show is brought to you by TrueMark Financial and credit union. And we talk about local. I mentioned Primo starting here. Well, TrueMark starts here. Located in Fort Washington. Get to know the credit union difference at TrueMark today. It's fascinating. With a credit union, you become part owner. And what that means is profits, well, they come back to you instead of going to shareholders. You get better rates, lower fees, a better return on savings, more flexible options, and you get all the same digital tools and tech to make our lives easier. All that stuff you crave that you have with a bank, you get at a credit union. They're amazing. And again, I keep saying it, local. The CEO, Kelly Body, local. She's celebrating today. Like, that's stuff I love, and it's important to me. They're headquartered in Fort Washington, 24 branches in the Philadelphia area. They serve our community and our people right here at home. Becoming a member of a credit union, so many benefits over being a customer of a bank. Check it out for yourself. Head over to truemark.com/PHLY to learn more, to find a branch near you. That's truemark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA. So, as we reach the 10 o'clock hour right here on the Anthony Gargano Show, we celebrate last night. What a game. I mean, the way it started and the way it finished. And we're not used to that, especially with the Sixers and the angst that we've been through with this squad. To talk about it, hometown hero. He is amazing. I love him. Missed him during my little, while I was in jail. He is the great Kevin Negandhi. Kev!
And it's, first off, it's great to finally join you and talk. And it's specifically great to do it after a win. Because I don't know where our mindset would be if we talked for the first time on this show, which I'm really excited to be a part of, about a Sixers loss. And, that first half kind of felt like, here we go again. The energy was not there, and the guys looked shell-shocked. But this is a different team. And when you have a coaching staff that's completely different, you have a handful of veterans that are completely different coming off the bench, I think they carried this team until the stars stepped up late.
So take me into the Negandhi household last night, right? Like the kids, because I know the boys are they're going nuts and they're excited and they're into it, and dad, the whole thing. And because like me, I'm watching the game, I'm going, not the same old stuff, Kev. Like, it's the same old thing. It's a zone. You know what a zone is by this point.
All right, I have a confession here, Ant. Okay, so I'm watching the game downstairs with my kids, and my wife was like, let's go upstairs. We'll wind down. Everybody gets ready for bed and all that. And I'm like, great. All right, we'll go upstairs. And then we started seeing everything fall apart. And suddenly that momentum, and then when they switched, when Adebayo got that second foul, they switched to this specific zone where basically it was two men covering Joel Embiid, and then the rest of that defense was focused on Maxey. So it was the rest of the team, the other three guys had to carry it. And then they're down double digits, and I make a comment to my daughter, and I'm like, maybe we should watch something else, and let's put on some Space Jam 2. And my oldest was like, Dad, what are you talking about? I said, maybe there's just some bad juju right now. And he goes, I'm going to keep an eye on the game. I said, please do. Let me know. So we're watching Space Jam 2 because my 7-year-old, she's winding down for bed.
Sure.
And he's keep me posted. And he's like, Dad, are we gonna watch if they come back? And I'm like, let's just see where they're at. So, Ed, you would appreciate this as a father of young boys, teenagers, approaching that teenage age. My 11-year-old's giving me play-by-play of everything. Dad, they cut it to 5. Dad, they cut it to 2. And I'm like, all right. And then I look at my daughter. And I'm like, it's time to switch. And she's like, okay, Dad, thank you, because she was thankful that she could watch something else. And we literally put on. From 10 minutes on, we put the game on. We saw Batum's 3, giving them the lead, and we were locked in. And my oldest man, he was giving me the Rockies, Phillies updates. He's like, Dad, we're gonna blow this game. I said, and I made a comment to him. I said, I am sorry, but this is what it's like to be a Philadelphia fan.
Yes.
The Sixers
Yes.
thing,
They are indoctrinated. And listen, they have no choice. We say it all the time. It chooses us. We
Yes.
were chosen by the soil, and this is the life we have chosen.
100%. And then and I said to him, I was like, this is the Phillies bullpen at the moment. And he's like, we can't lose this game. Then he gives me the update on the Phillies game. I was like, all right, so we're completely locked in. And at one point, my 11-year-old is like, Dad, I can't sit still. My legs, I gotta stand up. I'm gonna wake up the whole house. And we didn't care. We woke up the whole house when Embiid did the N1. The Oubre play, the Lowry falling down, keeping it alive, Batum's block, like all of that. It was amazing. That the house knew that the Sixers came back and won that game. And then this morning, I'm taking the 11-year-old to the bus stop, and I'm like, there's one of my favorite things is watching these games with you. And he goes, yeah, but when they win. I said, no, it's even when they lose. I said, we were at the Super Bowl together, experiencing that with you as a father and as a son. I said, to me, there is nothing better. And he was thankful, and then he moved on to the Knicks. He was talking about the Knicks and what's next, and I was like, let's just soak up where we're at right now. I don't want to even think about New York until Saturday.
Spoken like a true dad, man. You and I have lived parallel lives.
Yeah,
right. Like we were the same kid growing up. Loving sports or basketball bat and hanging on football, right?
Yeah.
And the whole thing, right? The same thing. And to now seeing it through their eyes, I love the stories because it's the same thing like in my household or, I'm talking to my little Massimo who's 11 and he's doing the same thing. Like I got home last night, I watched with my cousin. I got home last night and I'm like, Anthony, I'm like, Dad, what did you think? Like the whole thing. Because early in the game, I know you had the same feeling I did. Like, this is the same thing? Are you kidding me? Like, Tyrese looked scared, right? Like,
he looked,
bad passes, bad entry passes.
And to your point, like, I thought it was jitters. And then I started thinking, is this – and I bring this word up because it plays a huge role. Because, listen, the energy – it's this word, energy. It changed with chicken, right? Like, energy – plays such a role, and I had some PTSD in this game because while you're watching it in the first half as things are falling apart and there's no engagement, right? And it took me right back to Game 6 and Game 7 with the Celtics. I mean, immediately, and heads are down, and suddenly at this point I'm like, oh my God. That's the one thing I think that draws us to Tyrese, his energy. He's not caught in that Sixers vortex of head down in the spring. Oh, right? And listen, Embiid's not right. He's not 100%. He's healthy, but he's not all in healthy, right? And then you just start seeing a little bit of the mopiness early. And I'm like, oh my God, why? We have a new coaching staff. This is not the same thing. And that's the difference from previous years. I said it this morning. You have a coaching staff that understands adjustments. Late game adjustments. They can anticipate what's going to happen on the other end as a defensive team, right? That's a credit to Nurse and what they did specifically with the Batum play and Hero coming off the inbounds. They had seen it before. They called it up, and Batum was perfectly there. But the other thing, Batum is not afraid of the moment. If he's not going to make the shot, he's not going to make – but he's going to take the shot, right?
Yes.
And then Oubre is a phenomenal player with the energy. Regardless of whatever happens, Oubre plays with energy at all times. He feeds off of everybody, right? And then I'll say this. Kyle Lowry is – the only way I can describe Kyle Lowry is he's like Lenny Dykstra. I'm not sure. I'm going way back.
It's a great comp. Totally get it.
We all hated Lenny with the Mets. We all hated his guts. And then when he was on our team, he was our guy. He's no longer on our team. I can't stand Lenny Dykstra. That's a different story for another day. But, like, Kyle Lowry's one of those guys where he does all the little things. And like, Like when he dove and he kept that play alive, my 11-year-old was like, Dad, you hated his guts when he was with the Raptors. I said, this is the reason why. Because he does these extra things and he understands championship basketball and that it doesn't have to be pretty and you got to grind. And I loved everything about those three guys and Nick Nurse. And guess who's responsible over the last year to bring all four of those people in? Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey has changed the entire outlook of this team because of Batum in the trade. You get Oubre cheap. I mean, Oubre is a steal. Maybe the best signing
Totally.
of the season, right? Nick Nurse understands how to coach, and he's involved. And then he waited and made sure they got Lowry. And when you have those things play a role, and then the final 4 minutes, Embiid understanding that I have to step up and get everybody involved, completely different player, no longer carrying the entire city on his shoulders, just making the right decisions, it changes everything. And that was the difference in last night's win.
It's so beautifully stated and so spot on. And you mentioned Nick, and one of the things that he did, way he closed with that lineup, was the right lineup. Because Tobias was the ghost again. He was the friendly ghost.
You're right. And listen, if you've ever met Tobias, I love Tobias.
He's a dude. We did hustle together. Like, I love the guy.
Yeah, yes. Phenomenal human being. But here's the thing. Nick Nurse has watched this team for a year now, or, for a season. Nick Nurse understands, and he said it afterwards. He was like, he didn't have, he was gassed, right? He basically said that about Tobias. For him to understand that and then say, I've got this team, I'm going to make a coaching decision. Let's go with the hot hand on the offense and the guy who understands defensive adjustments there with Hero, because Batum was phenomenal in understanding that concept as a veteran, right? And to me, that is a coach who's saying, take it on me. And if I make the bad decision, it's my responsibility. I'm not putting it on the player. And too often it was finger pointing to the player after games previously. We have a coach now who says, if we make a bad decision, it'll be my decision. And that's because I'm sticking with Batum.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to remember in a moment like this, a guy like Batum, any sport, who stepped up. Like that kind of role player who stepped up and won us again. Because like you, I'm sure you and I are thinking the same thing. Like, I just want to run. Like, I want to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I want to play Boston. I can't play Boston in the first round coming off that kind of loss. I have no chance. I need to get into a rhythm, and then I'll take my chances with Boston in May.
I completely agree with you. And this Knicks series is going to be critical on mentality, right? Listen, you're going to have, now you need the stars to step up, right? But you're also going to have to find a way to punch back. This is going to be a physically nasty series. Jalen Brunson is a top 5 MVP guy because he understands the nuance of the game, his physicality. He understands when to score. He understands when to carry a team, right? So we need Embiid to have average 30 in the series. We need Tyrese to average 25 in the series. And we also need moments where you're going to punch back. You're going to have to steal maybe 2 in New York. And I'm okay with that because that environment is actually going to be great because the Knicks fan base is very similar to the Sixers fan base where stuff hits the fan and, my God, things get tight. Right? And I think Philly could play really well in that environment. Joel likes MSG. I think Tyrese also needs to understand that they're going to look at the film in Miami versus Miami, and he's going to see all these different looks now, and they're going to play him differently. He's going to have to attack, and then go to the line. And if you can do that, then you're going to create open looks on the outside because that's what they did, right? How did you break the zone in the third quarter? You started attacking the lanes, and then you could clear up some passes.
Yep.
But if you're going to stay outside and stay at 30 feet out, you're not going to be able to create some momentum offense. So I don't want to talk about Boston yet, and I want to talk about the Knicks series because I think it's going to be a dogfight. But last night showed me that if they get punched in the face, they will punch back, and that's what you need.
No,
you
totally.
Need back in a series like this.
And it's funny, like And I'm with you. I only brought up Boston, meaning that I didn't want to play Boston in the first round, like
I'm with
coming
you.
up, because you're done. The Knicks thing is a bit like, I'm curious at how you guys are going to cover this thing, because it's such a great story. The Sixers and Knicks have never really been good at the same time, right? Like you go back to like when Riley and the Knicks were good in '94, the Sixers were horrible. You got to go back to like Michael Ray Richardson, and I hated that team. They swept the Sixers. Like
that Nets team.
Remember that?
Oh, 84. Michael Ray Richardson, who was phenomenal, had to deal with, of course, cocaine and all his issues. He was unbelievable in that series.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart. I think it was 84 or 85. It broke my heart, Ant, because that team was so good, that 83 team into 84. And Chuck, man. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I know. Hey, well, I got you, and I can't not bring this up because nobody is better at college football and the draft than you.
Yeah. Let's talk.
And I like. Let's just talk birds for a second. It's so deep, this draft, in offensive linemen, in edge and corner. Yep. Kind of what we know how will trade up at the drop of a dime. What are you kind of looking at? What's your wish list for them?
Obviously, I would love a day one impact cornerback, day two impact linebacker. I also know Howie Roseman, and we all know Howie Roseman. I don't think he sits at 22. I think he's going to target a guy in the teens, and if that guy's not available, he'll find a way to drop back and collect more pieces and assets. Because no one does it better than Howie in understanding, hey, let me collect more resources down the road for maybe day two and day three. So let's just say at 22, ideally in the first round, wherever they pick in that first round, if they pick in the first round, I would love a cornerback. You mentioned this draft being, and I hope you don't mind. Let's go longer. I want to talk draft with you. I hope you don't mind, right?
You kidding me? Do you remember last year we did the mock? We might have to do that next week, just to
and I'll be actually
to tape it. I want to do it. All right, I don't care.
I'll be in Detroit with SportsCenter. We're going to be live from there. I cannot wait.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'll be hosting the 6 p.m. SportsCenter Wednesday from Detroit, and then Thursday and Friday. But I cannot wait. But I will say,
proud of you.
So I would love a cornerback. I also know, like, the way this draft is shaping up, which actually favors the Eagles in the first round, is you have a ton of quarterbacks and you have a ton of wide receivers that we don't need to worry about, right? So as a result, you won't see a defensive player probably till the 8th pick with the Falcons. You're going to see potentially 15 to maybe 20 offensive players, and that includes the tackle position, taken in the first round, right? Which would be, if you go past 19, it's a record. Tackle, you can have probably 6 to 7 guys going in the first round at tackle. So they can go with Mims, potentially, who has a ton of talent, not a lot of experience. They did this with Juergens. They did this with Dickerson, where he's not playing immediately, but you slide him in, and whatever happens with Lane Johnson over the next 2 years, right? Mims' size is wow. Like, holy cow. And he's still learning, and he get him to Stoutland University, and you're good to go. And he's another Georgia Bulldog, right? So go figure. They're going to continue to tap into that resource. I also think if there's a defensive lineman there, they're going to take it at the spot that they want. They're going to take a defensive lineman. I would love cornerback.
Me too.
Leon Mitchell out of Toledo is so good, but he's probably going to be the first or second one on the board, right? If you get Terrion Arnold, McKinstry, those two guys are phenomenal because they come from Alabama. And if you are playing as a secondary guy under Nick Saban, you are ready to play immediately, because that's what Nick's specialty was, right?
And it's amazing, right? Because going into the season, we thought Kool-Aid was going to be the best, and Arnold turns out to be the better corner. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Well, and that is the growth of specifically what Nick does, right? Saban's so good with cornerbacks, and look at the history of cornerbacks coming out of Alabama under him. They're just unbelievable. So I think that the three positions, it's no secret, defensive line, offensive line, cornerback. Our wish list, I think you and me would be, cornerback. Wiggins maybe, right?
Got great speed, man. Wiggins can run. Now, are they, like, to me, like, I don't know if he's hung up and he wants a man corner because Wiggins is a man corner.
Yes.
Like, he's not a good space corner yet, but
Nope.
if Vic Fangio would like that, I think he can run that kid, man. Wiggins
Yes, he
interests me. In the right scheme, he could be really good.
Yeah, and you know what? You can get Wiggins potentially later in the round.
Yep.
Like at 22, if he's there, I wouldn't be surprised if Howie's like, all right, we're going to move back a little bit because somebody's going to maybe want a wide receiver to jump up. Like, let me tell you, Brian Thomas, the phenomenal kid at LSU, I doubt he'll be available, but we can dream. If he's available.
Oh, my God. You got him. Because of neighbors, nobody realizes how good that kid is.
Kid is so good. I mean, he would be a steal. It'd be scary in this offense. We're just being a little greedy. But I will also play another scenario. If he's there at 22, you get on the phone with the Bills and be like, "What do you got?
Yeah.
Give us something because guess what? You want a wide receiver because you lost Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
I just don't think he'll be available. That could be a guy that the Bills like. And if Thomas is off the board and goes to Jacksonville, in the teens, like maybe you call the Bills and be like, you want to move up 5 or 6 spots? Let's move up, and then I could see him get somebody that he wants later in the round that is specifically Howie, and then get him maybe somebody next year when it comes to an asset, when it comes to like a day 2 pick.
So I got to ask you, because you got to explain to me the J.J. McCarthy thing, right? Because I've been hearing now Washington is enamored by J.J., and I'm going, how? Like Jaden Daniels. I know that Jaden Daniels, first of all, his eyes are sometimes are down, right? And he's got to grow a little bit, recognizing rush. And they talk about his slight build. But, I mean, I watch Jaden Daniels. I go, that kid's a playmaker. And I look at J.J. McCarthy, and I still see, the Penn State game where he didn't throw the ball in the second half.
Yep. I think I did a show with Mel Kiper Jr. the other day, a draft show, and Mel brought up a stat that blew me away. He said that J.J. McCarthy threw 34 fourth-quarter passes last season. I was like, what? Well, and he's like, compare that to Michael Penix, who threw for over 100 passes. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. Now, when this offseason began, I had one scout tell me specifically, JJ, his stock is going to go through the roof because of 3 things. Physically, his build, right? Second, he's a winner. And third, he's going to win every single interview. He is going to nail every single interview, and teams are going to be enamored. Now, with Washington, I view it this way. I think Washington is entertaining these guys because they're waiting to see if somebody's going to try to move up to take Jaden Daniels. And then they slide back, and then they can get J.J. McCarthy later. I think Washington's just sitting there and saying, hey, we're open. Even though Jaden Daniels is a slam dunk pick, we're open because we need help. Same thing with the Patriots. Same thing with the Cardinals. Who do you guys want? Are the Vikings on the board? Are they on the phone? Because I think the Chargers are going to dance with anybody. They want extra picks, right? But they're going to talk to the Vikings. So the key will be the 3 teams at 11, the Vikings right now, 12, the Broncos, and 13, the Raiders. The Raiders will do anything to get Jaden Daniels. Antonio Pierce and Jaden Daniels, they were together at Arizona State. Antonio Pierce loves Jaden Daniels, and for good reason. He would do anything to get him. They just don't have the assets right now. They'd have to give up a hell of a lot. But I think Washington is just entertaining. Hey, you guys available? You guys want it? Get on the phone here and let's talk. And that's why they're keeping all their options open. So to me, the most fascinating part is who takes Daniels, and then what do the Patriots do at 3?
Wow, that's fascinating. That's going to be wild. And what is Penix? I like Penix, man. I'm a Penix fan. Yeah. He's a great kid. I sat down with him. He's got just a ridiculous arm. I'm curious. Like, where does he go?
His medicals are the issue, of course, because the knee surgery twice and the shoulder. His arm's insane. And if he didn't have a medical issue, he'd be a top 5 pick. His arm is phenomenal. Thing hums, right? I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders cannot get Jaden Daniels because they just don't have enough. The Jaden Daniels, the Michael Penix conversation shifts in the 20s. And you see potentially the Raiders, the Rams, or the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Moving into the first round, you get that fifth-year option no matter what. They jump into that first round, and they take Penix. Ryan Grubb, remember Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb was the OC with Washington, the Huskies. Then he goes to Alabama, follows DeBoer. Then while he's there, within days, he gets the call, hey, do you want to be an OC of an NFL team? And he goes back to Seattle, right? So he's with the Seahawks. And listen, the Seahawks have not been open about, hey, our guy is Geno Smith, right? And they made the trade for Sam Howell. So what do? Grubb knows specifically everything about Penix. So keep an eye on the Raiders. Love the big arm of Penix, as well as Seattle. Keep an eye on those two teams and how this plays out with Penix.
And I guess the last one, and he's going to be the third, I guess, is May. Who likes Drake, man? Like, who do you think is enamored with him?
By the way, first off, I love May. I think May was hurt really, really badly with a new offensive coordinator and then losing two weapons on the outside.
Big weapons.
That plays a role here.
Yep.
The tape, though, doesn't help him against, a team like Virginia, which was horrendous, and how he played against Georgia Tech, right? So I think the Patriots view this specifically as, we like him. Can he change our team? We have a ton of holes, right? And he's a guy that needs, I think, he can't start. He's not a day one Sunday starter. It's okay to sit a guy a little bit. Patrick Mahomes sat. Look what happened. Jalen Hurts sat, right? Because he had to. But look what happened, right? They have Jacoby Brissett. I think the Patriots, though, and Robert Kraft also wants to have an identity with an offensive guy. And that is specific. He doesn't want to go with like, hey, we're a defensive mind. He wants to, hey, let's build this team like our next Tom Brady. And that is a guy like Drake May. So I think the Patriots, don't be surprised that the Vikings are intrigued and enamored and try to move up to get.
I could totally see that.
At 11 and 20, when you have 11 and 23 and you have teams specifically like the Patriots, the Cardinals, and the Chargers who are picking 3, 4, and 5 and need a ton of depth and help and impact players, the Vikings are sitting there and saying, all right, what can we do? Meanwhile, those teams are sitting there and saying, what can you add to the 11 and 23? Can you give us a first rounder next year? Can we get more things in this process? Because I wouldn't be surprised if another scenario, if the Cardinals trade out at 4 and they get the 11th pick and then they trade back in to the top 6 to get the second wide receiver, which would be Malik Neighbors instead of Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, it's going to be wild, man. I love the fact you're going to be there, man. That's going to be awesome. It's going to be incredible. Let's even if we have to tape something, we got to do something like.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I can't wait. We may have to. I mean, if we want to do it on Thursday, it'll be a quiet morning as I prep for.
All right, let's do it. Perfect. That'll be awesome. Fantastic, buddy. I got to tell you, I missed you, man. It's so great to talk to you, and God bless those boys.
Honestly, Ed, you know what I miss you the most? I listen, obviously, we've been texting. I miss talking to you on the air because there is something therapeutic about when we go through the same thing as a city, right?
Yes.
I'm not saying we love misery loves company. No, but there's something therapeutic when we could just all do this together, right? And at the last 6 months, watching what the Phillies went through, watching how the Eagles fell apart, the experience of what we've gone, the ups and downs here as a Philadelphia fan. Oh, shoot, let's not even bring up the last 3 weeks with the Flyers. It's been a long time, and it's good to talk to you, buddy. All right, you're my brother.
Love you, brother. God bless your family, man. You're the best.
Same to you. Appreciate you, man. Good to see you back.
Yeah, you're the greatest. Kevin Negandhi, the great hometown hero, ESPN. Joining us, I love Kevin, man. We were like the kind of growing up in the same era and share a lot of sharing the same stuff. This part of the program brought to you by Rite Aid, your local neighborhood Rite Aid. Man, it's the way to go. And let me tell you about Rite Aid for a second, because speaking of the neighborhood and the local aspect of your neighborhood pharmacy, they're crucial to any society, right? Like the neighborhood Rite Aid, I go back to when I was a kid and, growing up, my Aunt Cookie, who I adored, she was very ill. She had a disease called scleroderma. And so she had a lot of different meds. And I remember going with her to the Rite Aid. I remember how important the pharmacists were in, all the reactions and dealing with meds and you name it, just the advice. And by the way, they were fantastic. To this day, it's funny, VG is going to join us in the Clubhouse coming up, talking about the Rite Aid, like right off of Passyunk Avenue, and the Marge, right? Like we're on 10th Street, Marge, and going to see Marge. But that's like all part of it. Like, you know the people, and you feel like they care. And that's why I love the Rite Aid, man. I do. They're tremendous. And I know it's allergy season and I have it badly. So whatever your, symptoms are, you can find out at your local Rite Aid how to combat it, to find the best medication to treat your allergies, or if it's immunizations, right? My cousin was teasing me last night because I told you guys about his shingles and how at Rite Aid you can get your vaccine shot for shingles, which you have to do, all right? Because there's not enough tequila that can numb the shingles. Trust me on that one. Go do it the right way. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief and catch up on all your immunizations for RSV, shingles, or more. Walk in, schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. And let's now talk about True Fan Travel. The New Orleans trip is open. So Eagles going to New Orleans, the Birds getaway. I know there's going to be a huge special guest on that New Orleans trip. They're now taking deposits for that. True Fan Travel was Philly Sports Trips. Vince Rizzuto, Bob Cavanaugh, who made True Philly Sports Trips such a success. I've done several trips with those guys. They're fantastic. First of all, they do it first class. So you're staying at great hotels. Like the Clearwater trip is awesome. You're staying right on the beach. They have a happy hour that's banging. I know for this year's Tampa trip, they're talking about doing a cruise. Way back, I did a Birds Miami trip, and we went to, we had a cruise, which was blast. Me and the bro and my father, we were hanging out on the cruise. It was a lot of fun. I think the bro did the Irish exit on the cruise that night. It's because it's first class. They do everything the best. You make memories. And so whether it's Phillies in London, because that's happening, Eagles in Brazil, you can find out. Just go to truefantravel.com. That's truefantravel.com. You can learn all about the destinations. You can find your next adventure. And the beauty is you're traveling with all your people, man. These are our people. 4 for 4 people. So check it out, truefantravel.com. We'll come right back. Cousins Clubhouse coming up next. But here's a snippet from last night's All PHLY Sixers show.
I'm so happy that Batum stepped up like that. I did not want to have this post-game show where we're breaking down a game. Again, we have it right here on a tablet. We're breaking down a game against the winner of the 9-10. And, oh, man, are we worried about the Bulls? And even if they beat the Bulls, they're losing to the Celtics. No, this performance from Batum sets up a series against a tough team, against a tough Knicks squad. Don't get me wrong. Maybe the second toughest potential opponent left in the playoffs right now if Giannis isn't able to get back to where he was.
Yeah.
But a winnable series, a series that they have a chance in, a series that if they win, you can then advance to what now looks like a injured Milwaukee squad or a flawed Indy squad. And I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse. I'm just saying there is now hope left in the season, whereas this could have gotten real dark and real doom and gloomy real quickly. We would have gone from an exuberant pregame to a completely dead and lifeless postgame. And some of that wouldn't have been fair because crazy stuff happens in playoffs. Teams do stuff you don't expect. I wouldn't have wanted to write their obituary yet, even if a lot of fans would have, but it would have gotten dark. And that's part of what's magical about the playoffs. You have completely, I don't want to say completely, no, it is completely unexpected. I expect Nico Batum to make a three maybe finish with 6 or 8 points.
Yep, I was going to go
Make
7.
good connected passes, but never in my wildest dreams do I expect 17 points from Nico Batum in the second half to carry you to a victory. And that's what makes this time of year magical. It doesn't matter if Nico Batum can do this over the course of a season.
Nope.
It doesn't matter right now if he can do it over the course of a 7-game series. By his almost individual brilliance, the Sixers have a new lease on life, and that's great. And that's exciting, and that's entertaining. It could also be the start of something magical, and I hope that's the case. I'm so happy.
Able.
BG, baby. JP, we are back. And this is Cousins Clubhouse. I got to tell you, what a morning, guys. What a morning.
What a night.
Well,
24 hours.
yeah, and I'm off the high of last night.
Yeah.
And really, the roller coaster, right? Like, so let's go from the roller coaster and how, it all started. Like, JP and I told you about our night. What was your night like?
So I watched it at a local pub with a bunch of people,
Nice.
and the mood went south quick. Everyone was pretty much saying, we've been through this before. Here we go. You feel good about Adebayo getting the 2 fouls, and then they go to the zone, and it's like deja vu again, right? They can't beat the zone. You're like, isn't Nick Nurse prepared for this? The mood changed. The chicken vibe, even
baby.
like everyone was going crazy in the pub.
Chicken.
Bizarre.
The Nugs. Andrew the Nugs.
It felt like we couldn't get a run going, even at the end of the third.
Nuggies.
Even at the third, people were down. Like, we just can't get a run. I was like, we've cut the deficit in half. We're good to go. And it just seemed like there was a whole change. They got a little more up tempo. Didn't let the Heat get in there, settle down the zone so they could penetrate a little more, which was really important. And I don't know. At the end, everyone felt great. It was a good night at the pub last night. Overall, it was a little tension-filled, but yeah.
I was making the joke last night, that cliche, because everyone's freaking out. It's like, guys, it's a game of runs. It's a game of runs. Basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the problem. The problem was how bad it looked in the first half.
For sure.
And between the sloppy turnovers, the passes, they had 11 turnovers, right?
Yeah.
And listen, they were very fortunate because Miami missed a bunch of shots too.
Yeah.
I mean, that 11-point lead could easily have been 17 or
It should have been way more.
right? I mean,
the whole first 5 minutes, everyone was tight. No one could hit a shot for the first 5 minutes. It felt like it was like 6-2 for first half.
They couldn't get into an offense.
Nothing.
And then the Frenchman, Nico Batum.
It's
Boom, Batum.
Can we
It
go
awesome.
BDN part 2?
Wow, that's a great I asked, and I want to ask this question to you guys, because I asked the question to Kevin Negandhi, what athlete, like role player, played this role on other teams? Like Batum comes in and he was not only carried up, saved the game with the threes, but then was huge defensively. I mean, you're right. It was a Nick Foles-esque performance.
It's a good one.
Now, it's a playing game, not the Super Bowl, so I get it. But, when you think about role players, give me a role player who's played that before.
Nothing really comes to mind offhand for me like this. Yeah, you could see it coming with him. I feel like the last month or so, he's just been kind of money from the corner three. You could see something.
Right.
He's got something going on.
I loved what Keith Pompey said about how he kind of changed his whole demeanor.
But offhand, I don't know if there's a role player that comes to mind. You got one?
I mean, even
any other sport. Give me another sport.
What about Claude back in 2010? Because no one really expected, because he was. I mean, that was Claude, different Claude in 2010, and he played a huge role in that third line.
Giroux, though.
But in 2010, he was. Giroux.
Yeah, I mean, you still knew. I'm talking about Batum's at the end of his.
That's the only.
He's a veteran.
Yeah.
Right. So you need a veteran who he's almost a Raul Ibanez type of thing.
Jeff Jenkins.
Well, Raul came in and played and had a couple moments.
Yeah, for sure.
2010.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that 2017 Sixers team obviously didn't make out the second round, but you look at guys like Marco Bellinelli stepping up big, or Sonny Ilyasova, those veteran type of players. But I'm trying to think of like championship runs.
game, man.
Yeah, championship runs. A guy like Batum, like you said, made it. He really brought that momentum back for the team with his play. I'm trying. Like, there's not many I can think of on top of my head in Philly sports history as of late, for sure. Maybe Nick Foles is the best one we can think of.
All right, let's go beneath the surface.
Okay.
We're going to do our best and worst. We do it all the time, every day, Clubhouse. So if I go best, now the obvious is the game. So you got to give me something else. Go beneath the surface. Best of the evening for you, JP.
Now, so I saw a video surfacing online. A lot of people want to talk about the bricking for chicken, right? But the fan that was doing the dance, they showed it in the big screen, and he looked so awkward doing the dance. But that was another thing that kind of rolled the momentum. If I'm thinking below the surface, we like to see those little things in the stands. That guy just bringing the energy with his weird dance.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
I'll piggyback on that. I think the fans, who would think some chicken nuggets would change the energy of an entire building
That
and
is so
maybe
Philadelphia.
the game? Yeah, it's so
It is
Philly.
Philadelphia.
It's so Philadelphia.
It's astoundingly Philadelphia. It's Philadelphia to use Philadelphia as an adjective. Like, it's ridiculous when you think about it, but it's true. The minute that Caleb Martin missed both those free throws, all of a sudden the building got energy. Batum hits the three. There was then another run out. And then there was like, okay, well, this is a game. And they felt differently. And again, it's the Philadelphia fans. It's another moment, just like Trey Turner and cheering Trey Turner last year. It's energy. What the fan base has is an energy. It's palpable.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lure about this game too now with this. We're going to own this. It's almost like Gritty was ridiculous, and people made fun of it, and we love it. But this is us. We're crazy for chicken.
We should go to Game 3 dressed up as chicken nuggets.
Well, no, it's not. Listen, we've seen games before. The Fog Bowl, the body bag. I always love a game, and playoffs have that kind of moment, right? Where you're a writer, you understand this. You entitle a game. You put a title to a game. And this was the chicken game. It was the chicken game.
No doubt about it.
Do you think there's going to be chicken nugget masks in the Knicks series? Do you think people are going to wear that?
I hope so. I hope
Chick-fil-A,
so.
Andrew, our producer, that's a great question.
It's got to be, right?
Come on, guys.
Pull up the nugget mask. Come on, let's go.
Is there a nugget mask?
If there's not, we should make one. Come on.
The Nuggets, man. It's Chick-fil-A. Seriously, there needs to be Chick-fil-A does those commercials where they go, oh, it's Chick-fil-A, and so is lost our caterer, and we catered the wedding.
Right.
We all seen it. We watch games, and so we all seen the commercial. So I could just see, you have the person from Chick-fil-A, and then you have a fan, and the fan goes, well, remember the night the Sixers were down, and it was bricking for chicken.
We need to make that.
Well, here at Chick-fil-A, we love that. Here you go. Thank you, 76ers.
They got some time, too, to create something.
Oh, that'd be perfect. I would love that.
That was freaking awesome.
I mean, it's classic. I don't even mind. I'm even going to get Anthony. Every day, the kid asks me for Chick-fil-A. I'm like, no, man, we had it. Give it a rest. Guys got it's too expensive.
Yeah, but now you got to be all right, let's go get some Chick-fil-A.
Exactly.
Who wants Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
Because have you tried the Bear Nuggets from Costco by chance? Since you have this nugget problem?
No. What is this?
So Costco has the Bear brand chicken nuggets, and I'm telling you, I promise on everything I love, they taste exactly like the Chick-fil-A nuggets. And now you have the air fryer. Throw that bad boy right in the air fryer. It's beautiful.
That's not a lie. I can attest to that. They taste exactly
Bear
like
nuggets?
I keep 2
Chick-fil-A
bags in my
nuggets.
freezer at all times.
What is
Yeah.
it? B-A-R-E?
B-A-R-E, yeah. Bear nuggets. And they have different options. They have the spicy chicken tenders in there now, but you get they have the ones that
Bear
look like
nuggets.
the Chick-fil-A nuggets. That'll save you some money, cuz.
That's
that's a
I'm
lot.
writing it down for a reason.
30 nuggets, yeah.
No, my God, the kid is out of control.
And now he can cook it on his own. He doesn't have to ask you or your wife.
Yeah, no, he can't.
Or you can save the nugget box.
I gotta do it for him.
Save the Chick-fil-A nugget box, and then you cook them, put them in there,
there you
and make
go.
them think that
You're a
he's eating.
genius, Andrew.
There you go.
We're
You're a
saving
ge-
cuz money.
Messing them a little bit. Yeah, there you
You're
go.
a genius. But it is the chicken game. We've had a lot of these games before right? The snow game, the LaShawn McCoy.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? Like,
yeah.
there's been a lot of those kinds of
Body
moments.
bag game.
Right. But now we have the chicken game.
The chicken game.
Oh, my God. It's awesome. We can't make that up, man.
Thank you,
you
Chick-fil-A.
cannot
It's
make
so
it up.
incredible. All right, worst of the night.
The worst of the night. Let's go with. Here, I just had it here. So I don't know if it was before this game, but apparently Daryl Morey asked Hinkie to come do the bell ring, and Hinkie said, "No, I'm good." He doesn't want to. And like, you know, I mean, I'm a processor, and I would love to just see Hinkie in there, just do it one time. I get it; he's his own person, but that's what I have to go with.
Listen, the crowd would go wild
Absolutely,
for Hinkie.
yeah.
Wild. Are you kidding me?
Joel would love
I
it.
respect the Hinkster. A playing game, he deserves better. He deserves an Eastern Conference
That's why,
final game.
the report I saw was
Listen, I'm
Daryl
down
asked
with
him.
that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what game it was, but
Okay.
I'm assuming it was for this game in particular.
Yeah.
But in general, if he doesn't want to come, I get
Dude,
it.
he's
Respect his wishes, but I
so
would love to
nuts.
see him there.
Listen, he's so crazy.
Yes.
Hinkie, like literally, like he's one of these geniuses.
Yeah.
That So I was working on a book project. I've been doing it forever since the process. I wanted to do this big process book, and I've tried to get Hinkie. I've texted with him 1,000 times. It's just unbelievable.
He's one of those guys I think that has the same suit, like 30 of them, so he doesn't have to spend a second thinking about what he's going to wear. It's just boom, same suit, dark blue suit or whatever it is.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're right. It's true.
What's he up to these days?
By
I
the way,
wonder?
violation. Rick from sales
Come on, Rick.
is calling me. Now, why would you call me now?
He should know better. Come on.
Come into Clubhouse if he needs to talk to you.
I don't know if you're working from home today, Rick, but we're here in the studio.
At least throw us on, watch the show.
I mean, no, that's still a violation. No, you're violating Greg.
Maybe
That's
we'll
a
still have chicken
stone
nuggets,
violation.
cuz.
Come on, Rick.
Hopefully it's a butt dial. Maybe.
Don't give him an out. All right? Because he can dial you.
Well, if he leaves a voicemail, then you'll know.
It's a butt dial.
It's one of those voicemails that's like ASMR. It's like,
Oh, my
then you'll
God.
know it's a butt dial.
Right. Yeah, that's a stone violation. What's your worst?
I just got to read this because I can't capture it. Someone tweeted this out. It's a play-by-play from the Sixers game. They were at Citizens Bank Park checking in on the game, and they just tweeted out, "What the F?" And it reads, Tobias Harris, offensive rebound. Tobias Harris misses layup. Tobias Harris, offensive rebound. Tobias Harris misses a layup blocked by Haywood
saw
Highsmith.
that.
Tobias Harris, offensive rebound. Tobias Harris misses a layup. That's the play-by-play sequence.
Dude, that stretch of Tobias, and you're just like, they desperately needed a bucket.
Yes. And
Desperately needed a bucket.
that is not an exaggeration.
wild
That's exactly how it played out within
Literally.
like 10 seconds.
Like, are you kidding me?
How did he miss all those layups? Like, I just
Total spaz moment.
Wait. And then he had you remember the stretch where they had like 3 open looks for threes. Buddy, I think Buddy missed 2, maybe. He missed 2 threes. And Tobias had the third 3. And he hit the backboard. He didn't hit the rim.
Like the bottom of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember that?
When you put this highlight clip
I
of him
was
from
like,
last night.
Oh my God, dude! Like, how many times have we seen this? And listen, I view people, right, like my encounters with them, and the dude is one of the greatest dudes ever.
He really is.
Like,
man.
we did that movie, the Adam Sandler movie, the Hustle, and like the guy's just a great dude, great dude. But man, like, that was so abysmal.
It's not even about the money anymore. It's just like
No,
make a
forget the money.
layup.
Yeah,
It's
come
a
on.
shame because the problem is he shrinks. Like, if he
Constantly.
he just doesn't have confidence for big moments, man. Certain guys they just don't have confidence.
He's definitely one of them. He had a stretch. It was almost as bad as Clay's the other night, where Clay put up no points. But also, like, just his whole body language. And we talked earlier, like, before we started here, the one where Jimmy pickpockets Embiid.
Oh.
You just see Toby in the background
I
just
know.
watching it
I
and
know.
not screaming
Yeah,
anything to give him a
right.
heads
Like,
up.
what are
Jimmy's
you
on the
doing?
prowl.
Just in his head.
Yeah. Watch your
It's just in his
back.
head.
Yeah.
From behind.
Go.
Yeah.
How many times you try? Like, I tell my kids all the time, you coach, and they tell them all the time, talk to each other.
It's all talking.
Talk
Back
to each
door,
other.
watch your back.
Yeah. Pick right.
Yeah.
Pick right.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you
He's
doing?
just like, you might as well, like, someone should Photoshop some popcorn in his hands while he's watching it happen.
I'm like, dude, what are you?
It's the
what are you
fundamentals
doing?
of defense.
So, I got to tell you, I was so worried in the first half. So worried because Joe was looking lethargic. Maxey was clueless against the zone. Tobias had Tobias' face, right?
Tobias' face.
And I'm going, not again. Am I the? All I kept thinking about is, I'm such a sucker. Like, I keep believing they're going to win, and every year is going to be different. And who said it? The definition, Joe Banner.
Oh, yeah.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. My cousin. So Joey says, dude, we're insane. We believe that there's going to be a different outcome.
We'll have to
I truly believe.
Yeah. We'll have to do a list of like the most frustrating players in Philly sports history because like Toby's truly frustrating. Like there has been parts of his tenure here in Philadelphia where he's like, okay, maybe he could be the third guy. I think of Doc's first season. That first half of the year, he was an all-star level player. And it's just been like that. He just can't he constantly just in his own head. Super frustrating.
But you know what one of the best things is? Nurse.
It's a
Because
big
if there's
difference.
any other coach
It's a big difference.
that's been here,
in-game adjustments, cuz what is that?
forget about it.
I mean-
Doc stays with his veterans. There's no way in the world. Tobias would have been on the floor.
And it's not just
yeah.
Nick, it's his staff. I don't know if you saw Batum talk afterwards, but they had played on the iPad that exact play where he blocks Tyler Hero's shot. They played it to him during a timeout,
Love
so he
that.
knew exactly what was coming.
You
And I
love
don't
that.
think that stuff was happening while Doc was here.
No.
Mm-mm.
Come
No.
on, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about that TNT.
My
moment.
God, what are the people saying this morning?
There's a lot of stuff. Well, we always start off. There's always good reaction to the song. So Rob Smith says JP's got a voice of an angel.
Now you got to work on the French version.
Oh, yeah. We got to
All right.
work on
Yeah.
that French one.
We have to do that tomorrow.
Parlez-vous français?
Yeah. Learn it. All right.
Deluxe says we would have lost by 25 with Doc. K Red, the world's most famous train station, MSG, which I kind of like that. Habib 215, cheesesteak versus pizza, Liberty Bell versus Statue of Liberty. We had a troll going on pretty hard in here. His name was Knicks will be 2026 NBA champ.
Oh, wow.
He says a 1-point win over a hobbled Heat team isn't a springboard. It's a last gasp of air. And by the second week of May, you'll be focused on the Phillies.
I like that.
Joe Sox, France gave us Philly, the Liberty Bell, and Batum.
Ah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. You know, I was watching. I couldn't help but think, I'm not a huge Bond fan, but people around me are, and Goldfinger is like the one where Bond like becomes Bond and sets the franchise in motion. And the song is a good song, but I kept, instead of Goldfinger, I was just thinking role players because we have them, right?
Let's go.
Like I went through a
love
list
that.
of who we had role players: George Hill, Danielle House, Furkan, Shake, Niang, Thibault, like PJ Tucker. And last night it was a whole different vibe with the role players with Oubre and Batum.
those role players were horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, my
I
Even
mean,
Buddy
they were-
Hield came in and was
Yeah.
pivotal last
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, no. And it's interesting because George Hill, I liked him a lot as a role player, but he was completely cooked.
Yeah, he stunk.
Like
Yeah.
he was burnt chicken. Like
Yeah.
he was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the
Like-
bad Nuggets.
But like back in the day when he was in Cleveland, like, he was like
Oh, yeah.
Indiana, he could shoot a three, he could defend, but he came here, he was terrible. And Batum, we've always liked Batum. Like going around as a role player, just could play D 3 and D guy. Like we talked about him for years, and he still like look, man, he still could play. And he locked down Hero. He left Jimmy locked down Hero.
Yep. And Negandhi touched it. Morey deserves a lot of credit for this. And there's an
Yeah.
article this morning, I think, it might have been The Athletic, where Morey really pushed for Batum in that trade. And he asked a few times, and he stuck with it and made sure Batum was included. And
And look,
it's paying
Clipper
dividends.
trade's looking good right now.
automatically, it won you.
Yeah.
It won you a game, and it averted the Celtics.
For sure. And during the game, it was almost like with Embiid for the first 3 quarters. It reminded me of like when you watch cartoons and you had like the little devil and the angel. We saw Mopey Embiid over here, and we
Yeah.
saw him Beast on this side.
Yeah.
And the mopey guy was winning and winning the inner
yes.
battle, and then fourth quarter hits and Beast comes out victorious.
Like that's where, like, thank God, right? Because the Embiid showing up the last 4 minutes of the game, like he won the game. Like we always talk about, like, kind of big close out a game. Like we had that conversation a million times, and he's not your ordinary big, man. He closed it out. Like again, it's amazing, man, because he makes that three, which is a big three. He makes the and one. The offense rolled through him. He was like, you always see it off of a face the basket player. The offense rolled through him.
Yeah, and I was begging for it not to. In like the third quarter on Twitter, I was like, please stop running it through. He's clogging up the system. And
Right.
And you think back to that Harden trade, you essentially get, we'll see if Rocco comes back, but then you also get Nico Batum, we just talked about, and then Buddy Hield, because Marcus Morris gets flipped in that Buddy Hield trade. So Daryl Morey doing a solid job this year to build this team, and we'll see. The role players definitely look much better.
I like to see, Buddy. Listen, and Buddy passed the ball well last night.
Yeah,
he made he made the 1-3. I like to see him shoot the ball a little better.
Yeah, like we talked about, like there's going to be guys every one of these playoff games that are going to step up, like Nico did, and I truly believe Buddy's going to have one of those games. We'll have a couple.
I need Maxey. Like,
that's big too.
Like, it's going to be interesting to see how Tibbs plays him.
Yeah,
because they blitzed him. Like, it was different. The way they went at it, Maxey, was they ran two guys at him, and that's where the passes were bad. Like, I'm curious to see how Tibbs plays him.
Yeah, well, it's always a different game in the playoffs. It slows down a little bit. Maxey is a beast in transition in that fast-paced game, and once you slow him down, we'll see how he goes.
Yeah,
he's gonna have to make some adjustments.
Yeah, but you could see, and I guess Nick said to, because they had Jimmy on Maxey because they made sure they were trying to take him out of the game, and Nurse said to Maxey, "Listen, you can go by him. You're way faster. You're quicker than him." And that really worked out.
Yeah, the up-tempo stuff. Once that happened, it was a whole shift in the game.
Yeah, and you saw it from the energy standpoint.
To be more aggressive,
like to everything else. Like that was pivotal in that thing.
Yeah, that was definitely the big part. And I'm excited for this Knicks series. There's some good matchups. Mitch Robinson should be healthy as well. Joel and Mitch should be fun. Jalen and Tyrese should be fun as well in that matchup. There's going to be some fun matchups in this one. Hopefully our Sixers come out on top, of course. But if you're a basketball fan, you're going to like the series here between New York and Philly.
It's the Jay Wright Bowl.
Yeah, a lot of Nova.
I'm not worried about Nova guys.
I'm sorry, Jalen Brunson.
They got to tighten up the offensive rebound. I know they're not a good rebounding team, but the Knicks, I think, lead the league in offensive rebounding. And last night, how many second chances did the Heat get?
Oh my God!
It was like every ball they put up, they rebounded. It felt like.
I don't know about you guys, but that first half, and I'm seeing Jimmy's face, and I'm like, oh, he's going to do it to us again.
Especially after the news that we found out this morning about Jimmy's knee. Like, that's
a shame, man. Yeah. And actually, first of all, from a human standpoint,
right.
Obviously we feel your heart goes out to him. But, man, I wanted them to – I thought they could tax the Celtics.
Yeah, I didn't want to bleep Jimmy like that because I really wanted them to grind the Celtics out.
And now without Jimmy, they got no shot. They got no shot. Don't destroy the Heat in 4, and then
sit back and relax and be rested.
Yeah, that's the only bad thing. All right, that's going to do it for the program today. Wow, we're just getting started. We have a spring, man. We have a big series coming up. Sixers are actually favored in it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Phil's, by the way, good win yesterday. So we'll discuss all that stuff. We get the draft a week away. So that's big. It's a fun time of the year. Everybody, listen, we love you guys. Thanks for hanging with us. Be safe, and we'll see you in the morning.
We all silly like the mayor.